Considering that errors are every developer's favorite thing to handle, I figured we better learn how to do so with SvelteKit. We're going to start by going over the two types of errors that SvelteKit recognizes, and then we'll dive a bit deeper into how we can handle each. So the two types of errors that SvelteKit recognizes are expected and unexpected. Expected errors are the ones that you create with the error helper that SvelteKit provides you. It's expected because you're the one who created it, which means you must have expected for it to occur, right? For example, if I have a user profile page with a username route param and someone tries to access the profile of a user that doesn't exist in my database, I can throw an error like so. Since I know the user doesn't exist, I can set the status code to 404 not found and a message to go along with it. Alternatively, we can add additional metadata to the error by passing an object instead of a string here. However, if we do decide to do that, we need to make sure we update our types inside of the error interface within our app.d.ts file. Now when this error is thrown, SvelteKit will take the error we just defined, apply it to the page store's error object, and render the nearest error boundary. We'll talk about error pages and boundaries in more detail in just a few after we cover the unexpected errors. So unexpected errors are any other exceptions that occur while handling a request. These could possibly be thrown by some third-party package you're using, and since unexpected errors and the information they provide are out of your control, SvelteKit throws a generic error object with a status of 500 and a message of internal error. The reason for this is that the error messages may contain some sensitive information that you wouldn't want rendered on the page and exposed to your users, but the original error message and stack trace is still logged in your server just as you would expect. To demonstrate this, I'm throwing a non-SvelteKit error from this getUser function here, and since we aren't using a try catch block in our load function to catch the error, it's going to be unexpected. And as you can see, we're now getting that generic 500 internal server error on our client side, but if we check the console of our server, we can still see the error message and the stack trace for troubleshooting. So now we have an understanding of the two types of errors and what SvelteKit does in response to each of them. Let's learn about error pages and boundaries, which enable us to handle errors a little bit more gracefully. By default, when an error occurs, SvelteKit renders a default error page, which displays the status code and message. We can customize the appearance of this page by creating a +error.svelte file at the top of the routes directory. Now, if you recall from earlier, when an error occurs, SvelteKit will set the page store's error object to the error that was thrown. We can access the page store by importing it from app/stores, and then for now, we'll just log this to the console. Since this is a store, we'll need to add a $sign to the beginning of it to access the data. Now, if we trigger an error and check our console, we have access to the error object that contains the default internal error message, and we also have our status code here. So at this time, we're still throwing that unexpected error, which is why these generic values are here. If we instead catch that unexpected error and throw our own expected error, we'll have our custom data in the page's error object and status. So now we have access to those values, we can make our page look something like this. In this example, we're just rendering out different views depending on the status code. Now earlier I mentioned that when an error occurs, SvelteKit will render the nearest error boundary. And you can think of the error boundary as the blast radius of the error, or how much of our app the error is actually going to impact. For example, let's say that we have a standard layout that includes a nav bar and a container that's going to hold all of our page content. If an error occurs within the page, our layout will remain intact, so the purple box here is the error boundary. To demonstrate this concept a bit better, I went ahead and added a nav bar to our app's root layout. So now when an error occurs, you can see that we still get our custom error page, but the layout remains unaffected. Now this is great and all, but I feel like it doesn't really drive home the idea of error boundaries. So I added a settings route with a plus layout, which contains a simple sidebar here that doesn't really do anything. Now all the plus page.svelte files that fall within this settings directory are going to be rendered inside of this purple bordered box here. So now if we just add a form to this page with no actions to actually submit to, then we should get an error. And we do, but this is our root error boundary. Ideally, we want to keep our sidebar on the left and place the error inside of this outline box here, right? Well, a simple way to accomplish this would be just to copy the root plus error and paste it into this settings directory. So now if we try to submit the form again, the error is restrained to this box that we defined. Now you can of course customize this error page however you like, but the idea remains the same. Now there are a few different scenarios where the error pages aren't rendered as you might expect them to be. The first of which is if an error occurs during the load of the root plus layout /plus layout.server. If you recall from the first scenario, the root plus error page renders inside of that root layout. Therefore, if an error occurs within the root layout's load, that error page can't help us at all. It won't be rendered. Instead, SvelteKit renders what it calls a fallback error page. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably already seen this fallback page a time or two while failing to conduct a simple fetch request inside of your root layout load. Still, we do have the ability to customize this fallback page. If we look at the SvelteKit documentation here on errors, they gave us a nice little template to use. So let's copy this and create that error.html file within our source directory. So now if we refresh the page, we can see that our custom page is being rendered here with the appropriate status code and message. Now this same fallback page is rendered if an error occurs inside of a handle function or a plus server.ts. Although if the request accept headers are set to application/JSON, the JSON representation of the error would be returned instead, as you can see in this Thunder client demonstration here. Now the last thing I want to cover is the handle error hook. In the beginning of this video, we went over unexpected errors, and I explained that SvelteKit generates a generic error message when those occur, but ideally we want to be able to be alerted or aware of these unexpected errors occurring so that we can properly address them and fix them. And the first step in solving that is to identify a place to send these exceptions to. And the most popular choice out there right now for error monitoring is Sentry. Now there's a lot more to Sentry than just error monitoring. They also do performance and stuff, but in this video, that's what we're focusing on, just errors. And you can create a free account at sentry.io and then just create a new project. Now I'm going to smash all my errors into one project because I'm a degenerate, but Sentry recommends creating separate projects for your client and server side, so feel free to do that if you wish. It's also going to ask us to choose a platform, but that's just to provide documentation for setting that platform up, and I already have you covered on that. I will choose to get alerted on every issue because I enjoy having my email spam, but feel free to tweak these to your likings. Then we just got to give it a name and click create. We'll need to get the DSN from here, so I'll copy that over, and then we need to install a few different packages. We need to install @Sentry/node and @Sentry/svelte. These are the JavaScript SDK packages that are going to enable Sentry to work with our application, Node being used for the server side and Svelte for the client side. So now we can initialize Sentry inside of both of our hooks.client.ts and hooks.server.ts, starting with the hooks.server. So here we're importing star as Sentry node from Sentry node, and then we're also importing crypto. And then we initialize Sentry by passing that DSN that we copied here in the Sentry node.init method. And then inside of our handle error, you can see that I'm generating a random error ID with crypto.randomuid. And the reason for this is that we're going to be able to return this error ID to the client so that the user who is experiencing the error can see the error ID. So when they contact our support team will be able to search Sentry based on the error ID that the user gives them and help to identify what type of issue they're experiencing. And then we're going to run Sentry node.capture exception. This is how we actually get that exception over to Sentry. We're going to pass in the error. We're going to find a context of SvelteKit, and we're going to pass in the event and the error ID. And then lastly, of course, we're going to return the message and the error ID from this function. Now in the hooks.client.ts, we're going to do something very similar. We're going to import star as Sentry Svelte from @Sentry/svelte, and then we're pretty much going to handle it the same exact way that we did in the server, except we don't need to import crypto on the client side. Now let's cause some unexpected errors, starting with a server side error. So on the username pages load function, I'm just going to throw a new non-SvelteKit error. Now if I try to navigate to it, I'll get an unexpected error, but remember, we want to return that error ID from the handle error hook that we want to show the user, right? So we need to modify the plus error page to show the error ID if one exists. Of course, don't forget to update your app.d.ts file with this new error ID property here. And so now if I try to navigate to /anything, we get our unexpected error and an error ID. Now if we go into our Sentry dashboard under issues, we can see the issue is listed here. It shows us which line the error occurred on along with which file. It also includes the error ID and other information about the server that might be useful to you. Now let's do the same but for the client side now. Since we already have a form that doesn't really work on this settings page here, let's just make it throw a new error whenever we click on the submit button. Now when we click, nothing is going to happen, of course, but if we check Sentry, we can see that we do in fact have a new error, and it has the HTML button element click handler in addition to the page the error occurred on. Now I'm actually not going to click on this error because it's going to leak my IP address to the entire world, but you get the general idea. We're now able to send those exceptions over to Sentry from our browser/clients as well as from our server. And then if you were to check your email address and you have alerts set up, then you would have some notifications there letting you know what's going on, and so you can go and check and investigate those errors. So that's going to conclude this video on error handling with SvelteKit. I try to fit as much as I can into as little time as possible. If you got value out of this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a like. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.